It's hella random. Episode number 4. Aiming for 100. Today we are talking about disinformation. Have a good clip today. It's a funny one. All right, here we go.
Mariana Spring here, our disinformation and social media correspondent.
With all her phones.
With all your phones. Tell us about the phones, Mariana.
I have 5 and then one that's my own. And each of these phones belong to the BBC's Undercover Voters. They are 5 characters I've created based on data from the Pew Research Centre. And they each have social media profiles across the 5 main sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and TikTok.
So she has 5 phones, and she has created 5 different undercover voters in Britain to snoop on what's going on in America. Now, creating 5 characters is no easy task because you got to have pictures. You got to have a background story. I don't know, how she's going to do that, how many connections she's going to get, how long she's been running this op. So it's a really strange thing. And so basically, she has 5 phones and she has 5 accounts on each phone. So that's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. So that's 25 different accounts across the different phones, including her own, right? Her own, so that's not including her own. So you have this really odd situation because she's announcing on TV that she has a troll farm and she operates sock puppets, right? So this is awkward.
TikTok, and I've used them to see what US voters are recommended, targeted with in the build-up to the midterms and tonight, as all the votes start coming in.
Okay, I know you're going to bring us information on that and what they're being bombarded with, but I want to talk to you about the information that's coming through about these voting machines in Maricopa County, Phoenix, Arizona. Crucially important. It's the big suburban areas where all the voters are in Arizona. And already Republicans are asking questions.
Absolutely, and actually it links to our undercover voters because this is the kind of stuff they've been seeing on their feeds today when the news first started coming out that some of the machines didn't seem to be working. People like Brittany is our populist right voter. She really likes Donald Trump and she's followed a lot of content in support of him. She's been getting posts like this one, posts that are suggesting that actually the...
Hold that up to the camera, let's see.
See that? So that's saying something true, which is allegations that machines aren't working, perhaps they're not working. But the important bit is you've then got campaigns asking...
Now she's going on and saying that some people are voting that some people are posting that there are some machines that aren't working. So this is where information, we call that information, truthful information that's coming in. And so she's saying this is not the problem, right? Truth information. There are some voting machine irregularities that is going on. And so there's nothing wrong with that, right? So here's the problem. This is where truthful information becomes disinformation.
For money, asking for money to help expose fraudulent elections.
The camera, let's see.
See that? So that's saying something true, which is allegations that machines aren't working, perhaps they're not working. But the important bit is you've then got campaigns asking for money to help expose fraudulent elections. And what's crucial is that there's something true here. And what's true is that people are saying, oh, look, these machines aren't working. That's fine. That's not the disinformation. The disinformation is how that is then used online to fuel existing narratives that have been spreading on social media since the 2020 election.
And we had that with Mark Fincham. He was effectively saying something's going...
So let's get this straight. Truthful information about voting machines going down or being out of order at a district and voting location. There's nothing wrong with that. But what she's saying is wrong. This is what leads to, that's truth information. But what leads to disinformation is somebody coming in after that in the comment thread of this post saying that if you donate to my organization, we can help with this kind of issue. And then that get forwarded, and then it kind of steamrolls or snowballs out there and becomes something bigger than itself. Some is uncontrollable. This is how do we stop this from happening, kind of thing. This is what we worry about at the BBC, using our sock puppets to ferret out this information. Not that the problem is the voting machines. Why did they go down? Did they come back up? What is the problem with elections? Can the elections be trusted because the machines go down? Did they cause some kind of glitch? Not that we're researching or doing journalism there. No. Our journalism is about, especially from, the disinformation and social network correspondent, social media correspondent. Her issue is that, or her job is to ferret out these cases of disinformation that has gone wild, gone nuts in the wild. So that's her job.
On here,
well, that's the point I was
suggesting
making.
it's nefarious.
It's an open question. I'm not pointing the finger. I'm just asking the question whether something nefarious is underway. Do the Democrats get the same text? I mean, the profiles that you've created who are left-leaning, do they see that information?
It's really interesting because when it comes to Democratic mainstay Michael and progressive left Emma, who are two left-leaning characters, they haven't
She dreams about these people.
She knows that she's becoming these people.
They haven't been exposed to disinformation and hate in quite the same way. Actually, a lot of their social media feeds today have been focusing on how worried they are that this could threaten democracy and undermine democracy. We have seen some hate and some slightly more violent rhetoric on progressive Emma's feeds in the weeks building up to the midterms. But again, if we compare it to populist right Brittany's feeds, even today, and you were talking there about threats to people, who are trying to protect election integrity, there are lots of threatening posts targeting politicians and those involved in the elections that are really quite...
My issue with her operation is that I feel sorry for anybody that interacted with her characters that she created. Right? Especially you watching this and you'd be like, man, I thought that Michael was real. Michael ain't real. This lady created Michael. Man, I was going to ask that dude out to go basketball playing or something. Been catfished by her, because, she's trying to figure out, you would have to have an extensive operation going to get information, right? Like that, right? How long did she have that going? 6 months? What, how and why? So what I get from this is that, especially from how the media is addressing this disinformation, quote unquote, problem that came out of nowhere, is that basically if you are in your camp, if you're a Republican or a Democrat, right, don't trust any information that you see in your feed, right? Everything can be potential disinformation. You have to worry about that, right? But what they don't tell you is that this is human nature. Human nature is that. Human nature is all about gossip, all about disinformation or tall tales or, faking it until you make it. It's all about that. So how can you curb human nature like that? Now they're trying to find nefarious organizations out there that are like some James Bond villain level of master criminals out there that's trying to lead the country in another direction, which they are doing themselves by this whole disinformation campaign, right? Trying to get people to fear interaction with other people online, right? So it's almost like it's prophetic for them, right? It's the pot calling the kettle black. What you're doing is what you created a troll farm of sock puppets, right? You out there interviewing people and they're not knowing that they're being interviewed. Did she tell them after she got all this information, oh, I'm really this reporter? Did she tell them that? No, she didn't do that. So basically people have to stay in their camp. They should be not influenced by anyone with, everybody tries to influence everyone, especially during an election season, right? It's an election season. Everybody's trying to influence everyone. My dude is better than your dude. You need to come on over to my dude or do that and see that his policies are better than your guy's policy or your politician's policy. It's all about influence. You have commercials, junk mail, everything's trying to influence you in some way or fashion with disinformation or truthful information or spin or anything like that. So they trying their best to position themselves to look a certain way, in a certain light, so that you will like them and vote for them. This is what it's all about, and this whole thing is la la land. I don't know why they're doing this. This is just really strange.
Explicit some of the imagery they're showing, and all of the social media companies have made commitments to tackling disinformation and hate in the build up to the midterms. But when you look at these feeds, there are examples that suggest there's,
what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the little Dutch boy finding holes in the dam, and you know the story, right? But instead of them being the little Dutch boy, they are on the shore helping the little Dutch boy out, right? They on the ground while the little Dutch boy's on the dam, and they pointing at the holes in the dam. Look, there's a hole right there. There's a hole right there. I think there's a hole right there. You can put your toe in it. You can put your finger over there. You can put your pinky in that one. Stretch out. Come on. And social media companies are the little Dutch boy. They trying their best to put their fingers in the holes because these people are talking about disinformation and all this kind of stuff. It's a red herring, right? Stuff is getting through the cracks. We can't. It's human nature. You can't bottle human nature. You can't herd cats. You can't do that. This is just, you can't. Humans aren't wired that way. Just not.
Cracks. And like you say, sometimes the disinformation isn't always so stark. Sometimes it's someone saying, oh, maybe there's something more to this. And then a lot of other accounts will roll with it, and you end up with this snowball effect.
Mariana, I remember in the 2016 election, we spent...
You know what that's called? When people roll with that? It's called a conversation. That's what it's called. It's called a conversation. People are in the conversation thread. People are pointing things out. People are saying, oh, that's not what it is. That's what it is. Your job as a reporter, as a journalist, is to write about the voting machines. That's your job as a reporter or as a journalist, right? I don't know who created this position. She's probably a really nice. She seems like a really nice lady, and she probably have herself together. She's probably pretty cool and all that kind of stuff. But this position is nuts. The disinformation social media correspondent. That's just a weird title, and it should not exist.
A lot of time covering Russian-sponsored or Russian-financed disinformation that was being put into the American electoral process. Is that still happening? Is it still a big factor, or is most of this domestic that you're seeing?
I think it's really interesting because since 2016, the disinformation landscape, as we call it, is much more complicated than perhaps it was even back then. And so trying to spot influence operations, trying to see if someone's trying to distort the conversation is very difficult because there's an organic...
The disinformation landscape. The disinformation landscape. is that, as we call it? As who call it? Yeah, at what clandestine meeting are you going to? The disinformation landscape. It's just really, it makes it sound really sinister, right? But this is just human behavior. It's just human conversation that's online, and people are trying to get business because everybody's trying to get business, especially if you're an entrepreneur, right? You're online, you with your followers and everything's nature, and you saying, hey, look, I have a business. or an organization, nonprofit that that is about helping find out if your voting location is secure or not, right? If you created a business like that or an organization like that because you're concerned about voting integrity, so yeah, that kind of thing. So you have a business, you pointing that out online, and now they calling that disinformation. So everybody's trying to influence everybody. There's nobody out there that's not trying to influence everybody. Everything is an influence and influence operation. Everything is, because everybody's trying to make money, or everybody's trying to get clicks, or everybody's trying to get, information.
Conversation. There are people who are making accounts who are your average person who are capitalizing on this disinformation. And if you ran an influence operation, absolutely you'd think of exploiting those narratives and those kinds of false claims or conspiracies. But
she is running a influence operation right now. Who got 5 accounts? No, who got 25 accounts? Who got all those accounts, those false accounts out there? Now she's doing it for her job, and I'm pretty sure that she has her best intentions at heart, because she thinks that this disinformation thing is real. But look, advertising is an influence campaign, influence operation. Mannequins is an influence operation. Billboards is an influence operation. Flyers to come to anybody's event is an influence operation. Everybody's running influence operations. Some of it is on the up and up. Some of it is kind of shady, right? But everything is influence operation. It's human nature because everybody's trying to make money. So what? It is just really odd. Let's wrap this up.
It's easy to blend in, and so it's not so straightforward. And the social media sites do seem to have got a little bit better at identifying influence operations and taking them down. But Pandora's box is wide open when it comes to these kinds of allegations, particularly about fraudulent voting.
Ron, aren't you glad that you don't have to delve into all of this and we have Mariana to do it for us?
I am, but I will tell you, the greatest title that she has, the disinformation correspondent. I like being a political analyst. I want to be the disinformation person. But yes, I am glad that I have to delve into it. I'm glad that I have one phone, not 5. That's why we have you, my friend.
And I'm glad I investigate disinformation and spread it, which sometimes that title sounds like.
Mariana.
You hear what she says? Sometimes that title sounds like he's throwing shade at her, but she's like, sometimes that title sounds Orwellian, it's just really weird, the Department of Truth.
Thank you for keeping us in touch. We want to know what they're all of your multiple personalities, what they're going through during the course of the evening. So.
All right. All right, so there you go. This is the world of disinformation. And their campaign, or crusade to only have truthful information out there. Online, on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube, everywhere, on Twitch, everywhere it has to be truthful. It has to be truth. You can't have a commercial with a muscle car and a beautiful lady on the hood because that's untruthful. That's untruthful. That's not truth. It's an influence campaign. You're trying to influence your influence peddler. Influence operation. So should social media companies be responsible? Right? Be responsible for disinformation, or should they be only responsible for making sure that you're interacting with a human? Right? Internet browsers don't control where you surf, but how you surf. Right? We go to pubs, bars, we go barbershops, salons, restaurants, in the IRL, right? In real life, we go to these places and we are not chaperoned about who's speaking truth, especially in the barbershop, right? The barbershop, everybody's telling lies, right? And influence peddlers and all this kind of stuff and everything's nature. We are adults and we will adult. We don't need a middleman between us and conversations. The only thing that we need Just like in the barbershop, the only thing we need is to recognize that this other person I'm talking to is a human. That's what we need. We need to eliminate bots on Twitter, right? Elon Musk is trying. He's going to try the $8 thing or $7.99, as he says. Right? She would have to pay for all those little things that she's up to, all those shenanigans, right? And this playground rules. Play nice, and it'll be okay. But I think that this is there's something else going here. Something else going on here. Every year there's a new fear, right? January 6th, you had other fears that was out there that we had to be really careful of. The media was on top of that, trying to scare you. Now the new scare is you can't even trust Twitter, you can't trust Facebook, you can't trust Instagram, you can't trust none of that, because there are crooks out there around, behind every keyboard, behind every screen, that's trying to influence you to not vote in the direction that you should vote, that kind of thing, because that person is not really the politicians that you think they are. I mean, politicians are known for lying. We all know that politicians lie. We just trying to pick the lesser evil. The problem is, this is not about disinformation. This is about decentralized information and branded information. They don't want you to trust any news that is coming from another source other than a branded news source like CNN, MSNBC, the BBC, all that. They don't want you. They don't want you to trust any of that, because the internet is kicking them in the behind, right? They find it very hard, because they want to force you to listen to them, and the only way they can do that is to have this disinformation campaign. There's like, you can't trust anybody but us. Can't trust anybody but us. And yes. And the problem with Twitter and Elon Musk upended their plans. They wanted Twitter to become the social media of note, right? Like the Washington Post. They wanted, that's why I feel that's why they was losing money every year and didn't have to worry about it, because they would have been, propped up no matter what. They knew the money would come in no matter what, no matter if they was losing, they was in the red, because they were supported by all the advertisers. They advertise just like they advertise on PBS. That's how PBS stay afloat, is through advertisers and sponsors and things like that. And that's how, that's not a money making business at all. All right. So that's it. And that's episode number 4, Reaching for 100. Thank you, everybody, for if you're watching this, probably nobody, but if you're tuning in, thank you very much. Even if it's just one person, I thank you. Peace.